Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 255 of the Co-op Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary Ace Waby. How's it going, Gary?
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm doing good. Happy Sunday. How are you, Rich?
Doing pretty good. And yes, happy Sunday to everybody as well. We're also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How's it going, Dana?
Hey everyone. Yay. Sorry, I'm just dealing with bad technology. I'm very happy to be here.
Sounds good. We understand technical issues. We've had quite a few, so
Yeah,
it's all
everything's
good.
fine.
Yes. So we will not be joined by Mr. Lugo today, as well as Mr. Max Muller, because they have a couple other things that they have going on that they had to work on. But they will be back in the future for sure. You can guarantee that. But yes, as for this week in news, there's been quite a bit of things to talk about regarding all types of topics. So we have a lot to get into. But before we do that, obviously, we're going to let you all know what we have been playing. So, Dana, do you want to go first and let us know what you've been playing?
Sure. I have been finishing up on Incredibles 2. It's kind of boring. It's a little bit whack. It's not as great as I thought it would be. I think that they could have been a bit original with the game. You know, yes, I understand that it's based on the movies, but at the same time, the spirit of Legos is that they tend to go off on their own adventure. You know, be fun. Like if you was to look at the previous Lego Dimensions, or if you was to look at the other Lego games, which name is escaping me, they did one recently that included like all of the Marvels. It was Marvel superheroes 2 and even 1. You know how you go off on your own adventure and you do your own side thing, and like there's a huge map and you're able to just interact with the world. It's not so much that you can do that here, so it's kind of like really unfortunate. But I've been finishing that, and it's been okay, just a regular okay. And I did some Candy Crush along the way. I know people hate mobile, but crushing some candy, and I'm looking forward to the New Japan Pro Wrestling game that's coming to mobile, which I know Richard hates because he hates mobile.
Oh no, I'm totally on board with mobile. So that's Adam, who you must have think says he doesn't like mobile. All right, that sounds good. Okay, Gary. So we're gonna move on to you next. How about you let us know what you have been playing, and also let us know what you think of this new Overwatch character.
Yeah, so that's convenient because that's pretty much the only game I played this week. Is Overwatch, of course. And besides, I'll get to the new character in a sec, but they also reworked one of the other characters, and they added a lot of new features to the game too. So Symmetra has been completely reworked, and she works differently. Previously, she was like a support character who built teleporters and shields and turrets and stuff, and she still kind of does that, but you can use her teleporter a lot more than you could before, because before the teleporter was her ultimate ability, but now it's like a regular ability and it's on a timer now. So it can only be used a certain amount of time. And they've given her like a new ultimate, which is a giant shield barrier that goes across the map, and nobody can shoot through it on the enemy team. So that's going to be a huge advantage, to people on her team and everything. They've also added some new features like looking for group, because there was a lot of complaints about the competitive mode, because if you tried to group up with friends and play, it would put you against harder, like higher ranked people, because you were in a group, because they wanted to ensure that it was fair and everything. But now they've added a looking for group, which essentially it is supposed to stop people from, or not stop people from, but like it's supposed to help people who only like to play one character or one class, because people see those kind of characters as a liability before. Because, if you can only play one type of hero, then it means you're unable to switch up when the situation demands it. But now with the looking for group ability, you can say, look, I only want to play this support class and I only want to play this one character, and it will match you with a group of people who are looking particularly for someone who plays that. So that's solving a lot of problems right there, and it's making the competitive scene a lot more easier on people. And the new competitive season just started today as well, so that's cool. Hopefully I'll get to play it at some point and see what rank I get when I go on there. But yeah, as for the new character is called Hammond, and he is a hamster. I'm sure everyone saw the pictures. He looks kind of cute and everything. And he's got like a giant wrecking ball / mech, and he's a tank character. And yeah, like he basically swings all around the map and shoots and all kinds of stuff. I haven't actually got to play him yet because he's only in the PTR, which is the public test region. So it's like a separate portion of the game that you have to download. And I can't be bothered to get 2 versions of the game. So yeah, I haven't played him yet, but I'll wait till he releases in the game. But I have, all my Overwatch buddies and stuff like that tell me that he's actually a good character and he's not cheap. He's not one of the cheesy characters where it's easy to spam his attacks and everything. There is actually some skill involved in using him. So that's pretty good, because whenever there's a character like that involves skill, everybody always wants to see what it's going to be like in Overwatch League when the pros finally play the character. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to see how it affects the pro scene and all the Overwatch League teams and everything. But yeah, it seems like a cool character so far. Can't wait to play him. But that's pretty much it as far as what I played.
That's cool. That sounds good. Yeah, I thought the character was interesting when I saw it. It's it made me laugh. So I'm looking forward to seeing more people playing as this character and what he can actually do in the actual gameplay footage. But we'll see about that.
Yeah, some people were complaining because it's a hamster and they don't want to shoot it or something.
Well, I mean, he's in the wrecking ball machine though, right? So he can't get shot directly, correct?
Well, yeah, I guess not. I guess not technically, but he can be damaged. So, but they already have a giant talking gorilla in there as well. So, which is Winston. So
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember him from the little shorts they had, the cinematic short they had.
Yeah, basically they were in the same experimentation lab together. So like whatever experiments they did on Winston to make him talk and everything like that, they also did to Hammond, and he shared a cell next to Winston. And this is what's cool about Overwatch, because they tease characters months in advance. And like there was actually a part of one of the levels that had little teasers leading up to Hammond's actual reveal. Like if you went into a certain cell on the Horizon map, you could see a lot of clues that would tell you what the character was, and that that it was actually the next character that was coming out and stuff like that. So that's what's cool about Overwatch, all the little Easter eggs and stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Got to check it out at some point. Maybe we'll see. So as for what I have been playing, I really have only been playing one game, and I haven't really been playing too much of it. I've played just enough of it, but I definitely have to play more of it when we end today's show, and that is The Crew 2. So let me just go ahead and get out a few complaints out the way right now. I know that the original Crew game had an issue with the aspect ratio. Pretty much whenever you start up the game and you start to play, some of the menu might get clipped and you can't quite see everything on your screen. So you would either have to adjust it, adjust the setting on your TV, or like adjust it with the actual console settings. So I have experienced that. And I will say right now that that was very annoying because, of every game that I have played so far this year and before that, I've never really had to do any of that stuff. So having to adjust that at the very beginning was very annoying. But, for those that are looking for a workaround, just know that there are fixes out there. There's a lot of documentation out there, and Ubisoft on their blog, it does tell you how to fix that. So just be aware of that. As for the game itself, I mean, there's quite a bit of things to do, but one thing I have to say is that this game, it feels to me like it's a chore getting through most of it. You know, you can do different things like, you know, you can race in cars, you can fly, and you can also use the boat and do the boat races, stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff, I mean, it feels like it's okay. It's not quite as fun. I mean, it's, like I said before, it's a chore to get through most of this stuff, you know, and I think when you're playing a game and you feel as though it's just like it takes a toll on you where you really don't really care about it too much, that is a little bit of a problem. Now, with that said, it's not a horrible game. It's still, there are elements about it that are good. You know, you ride around, you do activities, and it is open world, similar to how Forza Horizon is. But honestly, if you was to ask me right now, what is going to be the best racing game of this year, without hands down, it is Forza Horizon 4. There's no competition. There's nothing even remotely close to that. I thought The Crew 2 was going to be that because I initially saw the gameplay last year. I did get a chance to play it at PAX West last year, and everything about it seemed like it was great. You know, the demo that they had, you were able to transition between different vehicles, so on and so forth. But now, having gotten my hands on the actual finished product, it's I mean, it's good, but it's just this is not something that is going to be at the same level of a Forza Horizon game, which is unfortunate. But with that said, so far what I played, you know, the cars look good, the graphics are okay. When you do the races, you know, it's very, very challenging in some instances. You know how in like a game like Forza Horizon, where you can, you know, try to go back and rewind to something that you did, try to, you know, redeem yourself. You can't really do that in this game. So if you miss a turn and you hit something, you may just completely go off course, and just all hope that you have of getting back into the race is completely diminished. So kind of some of that is a little annoying in certain aspects, but it does force you to get better. You know, you may have to replay certain tracks to finally get in within the top 3, because some of the objectives require you to get in the top 3 of racing. So some of that stuff is in there, and it's pretty good. But obviously, when you play with friends, the game can get a little bit better. Really, it's just a nice little racing game for you to play, you know, at least, you know, to hold you over for the summer. But again, I just want to emphasize, it's not a bad game. It's just there's not really a lot about it that I find interesting. And then the other aspect is, when they introduced this game last year, it felt like as though there was a story mode based on the trailer that they had. I haven't come close to any of that. It's just been me having to choose a driver and then just do these different races across, and you're constantly building up your fame, your status, so on and so forth. So it's an okay game in those regards, but I still need to spend more time with it. But what I can say right now is it's a good game, but it is definitely not at the same level of a Forza Horizon. And that's no offense to Ubisoft. They make a lot of great games, a lot of games across the board. This game, it's okay, but it's not something where I'm going to say, oh yeah, I would highly, highly recommend you play it immediately. No, I would say maybe wait for this game to drop a little bit in price, then you can pick it up. But I'll have more to say on this game this week. I'll have a detailed review, as I will be able to spend more time with it. But look for that on the website soon. But that pretty much concludes what we have been playing for this week. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into the topics, because as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of stuff that went down this week. Some stuff is a couple of updates on some other stories, and that's actually how I'm going to start off with the first news topic. So we spoke about last week about the whole situation with regarding Fortnite, and Sony basically saying that they were not going to allow crossplay. Well, there have been a couple of updates since that has happened, with the other 2 more developing news stories. Now, the first story came from a website called GameStar.de. They conducted an interview with Todd Howard from Bethesda, you know, and he mentioned that Fallout 76 is a game that they would love to do cross-platform play for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but he once again emphasized Sony, they're not allowing them to do that now. And obviously people heard that interview, they saw the feedback, they are not happy about that. You know, I know we spoke last week about Fortnite, and I believe we've also mentioned that Fortnite, you know, the game is for a particular audience, and then some would argue it's not that big deal of a game. But with Fallout 76, this is one game that I know a lot of people are anticipating. because it was just such a surprise when it was actually revealed. So that is a bit concerning. But then on top of that news story, we also got the information that now Sean Layden has come out publicly and said that they are currently trying to figure out ways to actually make this thing work in regarding to cross-play options on PlayStation 4. So I just wanted to get you guys' opinions on this particular topic, because I believe now that you're talking about more and more games that may not have this feature. Maybe a lot of people will start to get a little bit more angry, but I just wanted to get you guys' opinions on what do you think about this situation. Do you think Sony is in the wrong for not allowing this? And do you think that now they're definitely going to have to do something, or you think that Sony shouldn't even worry about this altogether? So I'm gonna get your opinion first, Gary. What do you think?
Yeah, I think as online gaming gets more popular and everything, and people start to see games like Fortnite, and that it's a game that's heavily streamed, and everybody's talking about it right now and everything like that. It's a really big mainstream online game. So when games like that are just hugely popular, I think it gets to a point in gaming where it's like people want to be able to play these games with their friends, regardless of what platform they're on, like, because you don't want to have to buy like a $300 system or something like that to play with a particular friend. Like, you just want to be able to play it on what you're playing on and connect with all of your friends. So this, as this becomes what's familiar to everyone, and you already had Microsoft, Nintendo, PC, of course, is an open platform. So like all these other companies are unifying and allowing crossplay to work and everything, and Sony is the only one that's not. So automatically, it just makes them look like a bad guy. And we know Fallout 76 is billed as a huge online experience. And I could see the benefit of having something like that be cross-platform. So yeah, I mean, if they're able to make that cross-platform and have PlayStation people play with Xbox, I think that's awesome, to be honest with you, because I want to be able to play with my Xbox friends and stuff like that, even though I don't have one. So yeah, I mean, I think Sony should just do it, because the more they come up with excuses or reasons not to do it, it's just going to make them look bad. And they're in a good position right now, in terms of being the top selling console and everything. So they might as well just, fall in line and change their rules and regulations and allow crossplay to work. Otherwise, it might end up costing them a lot of, support in the industry in the long run.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. You made a lot of great points. And once again, I'm not trying to say that Fortnite isn't a big game. Obviously, it's popular at the moment. But Fallout 76, this is going to be a major AAA game coming out later this year. So now that you have Todd Howard talking about this stuff, I think that really makes this a bigger issue that definitely needs to be addressed at some point in the future. So hopefully Sony is going to do that. Otherwise, they got to be prepared for whatever backlash they get as a result. But we'll see what happens. Dana, do you have any thoughts on this particular situation? And do you want this game to be cross-platform play with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One?
Well, back in my day, in the 1800s, when we had games, we either had them on PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo Game Boy. There was no such thing as a crossplay. If you want a crossplay, you buy it on that system. No, I'm so old. No, here's the thing.
Game Boy in the 1800s.
In the 1800s, it was the Game Boy, and then in the 1900s was Game Boy Color. It was originally called Colored, but we couldn't call it Colored, so we had to call it just Color. But no. Here's the thing. Right now, people are very angry. I want to see how angry they get, and if it translates to dollars. And I don't know if they're trying to make sure that it doesn't affect the Fallout 76 with the purchasing and the sales with that. And so right now they're doing like a preemptive thing where they realize they did mess up, even though technically they didn't. It's their choice of whether or not they want to have crossplay or not. If you don't like it, then just don't support it and go and, you know, have just Xbox or play on just Nintendo Switch, you know. But unless they really do see that they're going to lose money behind this, which is why we're getting the weird flippy floppy answers now, then just do it. And don't do it for just this game. Make it cross-play for, you know, Fallout 76 that's coming out or any other big game that's going to come out. Hopefully, then people will be happy. But here's the thing. People are always going to find something to be upset about, no matter what. So if it's not this, remember last time it was the microtransactions. Remember now we're still getting microtransactions in games now, and that kind of seemed to die down with the anger. But if they give in, do realize that they may have to give in to other more things. I personally, as a gamer, would like there to be the cross-play option. So that to me as a gamer is fine. I don't know how that works from a studio. I don't know if they're trying to stay ahead of the curve in the sense of they don't want other people. They don't want other people purchasing different consoles, and they want them just to, you know, play for the PlayStation or whatever. So I don't know how it affects them monetarily. But if you're going to keep giving flip-floppy answers, just give in, because right now you just seem like you just don't know what you do. You sound like someone who doesn't know how to stand their ground, and you're easy to be manipulated against. So if they're going to change, then change. That's good. But also realize there's going to be something else that people are going to complain about.
Yes, very good points. I agree with everything you said, especially with the fact that people always complain about everything. Go ahead, Gary. You're going to say something.
Yeah, I agree with that. And because I can see it from Sony's side as well. Because if I was Sony, I would only want people to play within the PSN network and everything, because you want as many people to buy the platform itself to play with each other. Like, that's what you want as a business owner, you know? So I can see it from their side and why they wouldn't want crossplay. But I think this is a case where a game like Fortnite, you know, it's one of those things that kind of just transcends the business of gaming. Like, it's so popular that the people who are playing it don't care about consoles and, you know, networks and all this stuff. Like, they just want to be able to play the game together. And if people are, you know, have played it on their PlayStation and now they want to play it on their Switch, they don't want to run into these issues where they can't transfer their account and all this stuff. Like, so it's an issue that kind of transcends the business at that point, because you have all these casuals wanting to do things and they're not finding it easy. And that's the audience you really want to satisfy, the casuals. So it's a case where Sony is at a lose-lose, and they kind of just have to go with the flow, because Fortnite is popular right now, and Fallout 76 is going to be popular too. So yeah, they're in a bad position, and I think they should just, you know, allow it, because we've seen it happen. Like, there was that case where I think it was the original Fortnite, before the Battle Royale. I think they accidentally activated crossplay. So we've seen that it's possible. So, you know, it's literally just Sony not allowing it. It's like a rule they have in place or something that stops it. So if it's possible, then just allow it, you know, because if you're going to get bad publicity from it in the long run, then you don't want anything hurting the brand. So you might as well just, you know, allow it.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, we'll have to see whatever Sony, you know, like I said, Sean Layton, the fact that he made the comment that they are going to be looking into resolving this issue makes me very curious as to what exactly they're going to try and do. But we'll have to wait and see what this whole situation is going to be like. But I think Fallout 77, you know, the game is, a lot of people are huge Fallout fans, that the game is still going to be bought, regardless of whether or not this particular issue gets resolved, because there are a lot of people that like Fallout, but definitely need to think about this and moving forward. Because again, I think this is the first time we've heard about a major game. Again, I'm not saying Fortnite isn't a major game, but because now it's being talked about in the same sentence of Fallout 76, I think it's a matter of time where you might hear other people ask this question, and then they may also give the same answer. Well, Sony won't allow it. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, they definitely need to think that over. But any other thoughts on this particular topic before we move on to the next? All right, so let's now jump ship and let's talk about Google, because this was another story that it picked up a lot of steam this week when it was initially reported by Kotaku, in which they announced that there's rumor going around that Google is currently working on its own game streaming platform. According to the report, it says that Google was at GDC and E3 meeting with different developers as well as different gaming companies trying to talk about their plans for a gaming platform. This rumored platform is codenamed Yeti, and it's going to allow people to play games requiring high PC specs on lower end hardware. That's the only information we know about it so far. And again, this is a rumor, but I wanted to get both of you guys' thoughts on, what if Google was to enter the gaming market? Do you think they can make a difference? Or you think that this is something that if they do enter this market, this may be like a little short-lived venture because they will be among others who are fully in this field, like Sony and Microsoft. So, Gary, how about you go first and let me know your thoughts on this particular news?
Yeah. So the technology that's being talked about here is like it's not exactly new. There's been a few companies that have kind of done it. Nvidia actually does it. They have this they have their own service that allows you to stream games, high-end games, on through the internet, basically, on any spec, laptop or PC that you have. I think they even have their own handheld device as well that lets you play on their service and everything. So like you can stream The Witcher and all these big games, and it doesn't matter what your hardware is, it as long as you have a good connection to stream the game, you can get it in full spec settings, like you can see it in its best graphical state and everything. So I think this is what Google is trying to do. And apparently there's going to be some sort of hardware attached to it as well. So they are going to be making their own hardware. And whether it's going to, I think if they're doing this, it should be a handheld device similar to the Switch, because I think that's, if there's anything Google can do, it's selling another, an alternate to the Switch, basically, where you can play all these high-end, high-spec, highly visual video games on a handheld and carry it with you anywhere and stuff like that. The only problem is connections and how it deals with, internet connection and stuff like that. Because if it's all streaming and you're going to be have to be connected at all times to continue your experience, then there's a lot of issues you can run into if you're going to places that have questionable internet connections and stuff like that. But yeah, my only thing is Google aren't the best at supporting their services that they bring out. Like they're known for bringing out different apps and services, and then they don't particularly like follow through with it. Like they don't pay attention to it, they don't nurture it, they and after a few years they just completely kill it off. Because look at Google Plus. Google Plus was supposed to like be the new Facebook. It was supposed to be like their social network. It was supposed to rival Facebook and everything, but well, I can't even say it was hot for a while, because it really wasn't. Like nobody used Google Plus, like, and you had an account on Google Plus by default essentially, and people still didn't use it. So like that's the thing with Google. They launch all these different cool apps and things in the background, but everybody just uses the search engine. That's all we want from Google. Like we just want the search engine and the email. That's literally all we want from Google. And I think that's the problem with them. Like people don't want all this other stuff. I guess the phones are doing well, so that's something. But yeah, people don't tend to want all this other stuff from Google. They're just the best search engine in the world, basically. That's pretty much how people see them. So if they do enter the gaming market and the hardware is cool and everything, I really want to see them get behind it and put everything they have into it to make it something that people should own. Every gamer should own. So I don't want them to just enter the game market and, you know, kind of test the waters and then leave a few years later. You know, I want it to be something solid, you know, that's going to stick around. So I wish them well with that, and I guess we'll wait and see when the official announcement about it is made.
Sounds good. Some very good thoughts. So I have a few things to say, but I'm going to go to Dana first. What are your thoughts on if Google was to make a gaming platform / streaming service?
Oh, technical difficulties. I guess Google didn't like my comments or something. Yeah.
All right, well, let me go next before she while she works that out. I agree with everything you said, Gary. And I also believe that the whole issue with, you know, Google always releasing stuff and then never supporting it, that is why I don't think that this would be a good idea for them to even try and do this stuff. If I can give an example of another company that tried to do this whole console thing, let's go ahead and let's talk about Valve with the Steam machines. I don't see those machines anywhere else. No more. So to me, it feels as though they have stopped supporting or even having that stuff out there in the open. And I mean, it's just fully understood. They have Steam, so they should just focus primarily on that and make that all that they're focused on now. Obviously, they want to do the games now, so they're entering the game market again, which is great. But I'm not particularly I don't really have any faith that Google would do a good job with this particular thing. They would have to. I would think that they should do something first to provide a goodwill to others to really convince them that they can actually enter this market. Because I mean, they have certain things that they've done a great job with, but gaming, this is a totally different situation entirely. So that's just my personal opinion on the matter. But yeah, any additional thoughts?
Is Dana back?
She have to chime in later. Oh no, go ahead,
Yeah,
Dana.
I'm here. Well, I completely missed the question. Everything has gone to poop.
We're talking about the Google platform. I was asking if you think that this is a good venture for Google to try and make a gaming streaming platform, or are you against it?
Yeah, I'm for it. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to make sure that when you're coming, you're going to have something that people care about. And unfortunately, not mobile. And it has to be with games and partnerships that people really care about. So don't just say I'm entering into the video game arena and don't have anything. So if you really want to compete and you want people to take you seriously, then that's what you're going to have right away. So it's nice that they're announcing this, but you know, don't keep saying we're going to be a part of it and don't announce anything else aside from what you have. What's your platform going to look like? What is your console going to look like? You know, what games are you looking forward to? What partnerships do you have? There's more questions than there are answers right now. So overall, I can just say good for you. I don't know what else to say aside from that, because there isn't any information and everyone wants to get in on this gaming thing. Remember how we was watching E3? Remember how we had all these different Hollywood stars who now I'm a gamer and they're coming out with their own video games? That's nice. But again, are you any good? What do you have that can offer the public that's worthy for us to care about? So good for them. Thumbs up, a halfway thumbs up.
well, for now, it's this is all a rumor until it's actually confirmed. So we'll have to see what happens with any of this stuff. Like Gary, I think you was about to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, because the Nintendo Switch is doing really well right now, and it's mainly because they don't have any competition really when you think about it, because they're in a lane of their own, because like people love the Switch because you can carry it with you and play on the go, and it's good quality gaming and everything. So if Google makes this service thing a handheld thing that you can bring with you, they can seriously, become a competitor to Nintendo, so I mean, this is just all hypothetical, and like you guys said, until we see it, we don't know. But I'm just thinking of things they could do here, and to solve the problem of internet, they could even sell you like a 3G service, because Google was actually doing internet service as well in America. I think they were doing like fiber optic internet or something like that. So there's a lot of things they can do with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I don't like the name. I can't. When do I understand?
You kind of breaking up.
Say heavy, like these really big games without it taking so much, you know, how much it's stuff. So that theory, if that is real, and
You're breaking up.
but right now, I need to see something other than this is what we hope to do.
Absolutely. Also, you may need to reboot because you kept breaking up, so we hardly heard anything that you said. So probably should do that before jump back in for the next topic. All right. Any additional thoughts from you, Gary, on Google, or are you all set?
No additional thoughts from me.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. And I want to give a shout out because you and I know Gary. We have a couple of people on staff, hardcore Xbox fans, that I didn't see them mention this not one time in any discussion. And this just happened a couple days ago. So perhaps they need to do their research when they're talking about Xbox. But Showtime has greenlit a Halo TV series. You know, this is a series that has been in development for the last 5 years regarding Steven Spielberg. So what we know about it so far is that, hold on one second. All right, so what we know about it so far is that Rupert Wyatt is the executive producer and director of this particular series. This is a guy that's also worked on Rise of Planet of the Apes. And we also have Kyle Killen, who's worked on Awake. He is also going to be working on this show as well. So the show is currently slated to arrive on Showtime sometime in early 2019. And is a part of Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment, and also a deal with Microsoft and 343 Industries. So with that said, I wanted to get you guys' initial thoughts on this particular show and whether or not this is actually something that you're looking forward to. So Gary, how about you go first?
I mean, I have no actual interest in this, to be honest.
Oh, whoa. Oh, wow.
I mean, I hope it's good though. I mean, for the people who love, you know, Halo, I hope that, you know, it will turn out to be good and everything, but I have no actual interest in it myself. But Showtime is a reputable network, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of great shows on Showtime. I mean, I know I'm a fan of Ray Donovan. I may be the only one in here that is a fan of that show. Of course, Shameless, another show which is also great. So Showtime normally has some pretty good shows on there. But, you know, it may not be for everybody. It depends on what people's tastes are for television shows. But we'll see.
I think if it's going to be on a network like Showtime, then I think it's going to be pretty good, to be honest. But I mean, I don't know anything about Halo lore and everything. I just play the games sometimes. I think I've beat like 2 or 3 of them. I really don't know the lore that well to really say what they could do and what the possibilities are. I just don't think it should be a Master Chief show though. I don't think like they should have Master Chief as the main character. He should probably just be like a background character who's in the show from time to time, I think.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is going to be left up. I mean, there haven't really been any details in regards to what they're going to be talking about on the show. I would assume at some point in time, Master Chief will be in the show. I don't know if he's the focal point of the show because they haven't released any information yet. I will say this though. I personally am very much looking forward to the show, only because Steven Spielberg is behind the show. I know that Microsoft is involved. They have been trying to get this show off the ground for the last 5 years. So I have some positive thoughts that it definitely can be a great game and you know, a great show. And I think that should the next Halo game come out next year, this is a perfect way to lead into that also, because, you know, we know this will be out in early 2019. At least that's what they said so far. There's no confirmed release date as to when this show is going to actually air. But yeah, I think it's great. And as I said before, Showtime does have some good shows on there. I mean, they do a good job with what they actually do put out there. So I have faith in this at the very least. So we'll have to see how it turns out. Now, Dana, are you back now? Well, you let us know when you are able to jump back in. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the show. I have some faith in it at the very least, because I know that this has been a long project, and I think the long wait will definitely pay off. But Gary or Dana, any additional thoughts?
Good luck to them. You can hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
You can hear me now. I'm sorry. It's just it's really hot and everything just imploded. Good luck to them. As you were saying previously, this has been in the making for like 5 years. It felt like 10 years. So my thing is, I hope that they do it, but do it right. I don't give a fart how long it takes if you're able to do it right. And I know that they kept saying that this is the most ambitious ever, and we're going to be so excited. And I know it goes into production in 2019. I don't know whether or not you said it because I couldn't hear anything because everything froze. And that there's going to be 10 episodes. Okay, that's great. And I know that they also said that, did you hear about the premise? I'm not sure if you read about that, if you stated it.
Oh no, go ahead, because go ahead and let us know that.
The premise of the show is an epic 26th century conflict between humanity and the alien threat known as the Convent, and while weaving in personal stories, action, and adventure. Okay, that really right there doesn't really compel me that much, but I'm going to hope that it doesn't suck. And I know that the creator of Awake is overseeing the series, and he's writing it as well. And I know that they're trying their best, but this has been a failed project on and off for, as you were saying, 5 years with multiple different people. We had Ridley Scott that was doing it. We had Peter Jackson, the director of Lord of the Rings, who was doing it. We had Steven Spielberg was doing it. That doesn't really look too promising, because for me, that they had a lot of budgetary issues and there was just a lot of technical issues with it. So hopefully, maybe with technology, and I don't know, they can raise up more money that they need. I don't know how expensive the show is going to be. That's another thing. I don't know how expensive. I don't know how it's going to stream. I don't think that it's going to be for TV, as in like, basic TV or even cable. Maybe at most it'll be on like Showtime. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to a streaming service instead. I don't know if they're going to try to make like a stream. You're right. So like a streaming service, that would be the best bet. Maybe Netflix, because I know that they do have the most money. They're spending ridiculous amounts of money, and this is not going to be a show that you're going to spend like an average of $3 million a year. This requires a lot of things. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if it works out. If it doesn't, then I see it probably not working out, not because I'm being negative, but because there's a lot of factors that goes into making this show. And then on top of that, you have to make sure that you have it right, that you're pleasing the fans in the sense of, yes, you can do your own thing, but you have the basic groundwork. Don't do what, for example, remember M. Night Shyamalan when he did The Last Airbender or Avatar? Remember Last Airbender? And remember they started making those unnecessarily ridiculous changes where they even changed the guy's name from Ong to Aang, and it was just ridiculous and stupid. just if you're going to adapt this and make this into a TV series and you got your 10 episodes, just be honor what the source material is. Don't go too ridiculous with it. Don't be, and they're saying they're over ambitious. I don't like that quote. You're saying this is the most ambitious TV series that you're ever trying to do. That does not make me really happy, because that means there's a lot of things that can come to fault. But if this works out, then a round of applause. I will watch this show. I will support this show. Gary and Richard and I will beg for the pilot episode so that we can screen them in advance and write our reviews for it. So I hope it works out. But if it doesn't, I'm not exactly going to be surprised. I'm just happy that they announced something. But again, we've been 5 years of them announcing something. So it makes me just feel dead. We'll see. When I actually see the show and I see an episode and I know that it's there and it's the end credits, then I would believe this show is existing.
Well, hey, fully understand what you're saying. We'll definitely see what happens. I will say though, once again, I have faith in Showtime, and I have faith in the people involved in the project. So we will see what the end result is. I know Gary said he ain't really thinking too much of it. I think you both may be surprised, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, I'll give it a try. You know, like when the pilot comes out, I'll watch it and see how it is. You know, maybe this will be something that makes me get into the Halo lore even more.
I mean, the thing what Dana mentioned about the premise, the stories weaving in and out of the stuff going on, I think that sounds like an interesting concept. I mean, Master Chief at some point will be in that, and I don't really know if he'll be the focal point of it, because again, they didn't reveal all of that information. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if you see Spartan Locke in there, hopefully that is the one character that I definitely want them to do more with, because I wasn't a fan of him in Halo 5. So I don't have a problem with that. But I am at the very most optimistic to see what they actually put out there. So we'll see how that turns out. But yes, any final thoughts before we move on to the next topic? All right, so actually, Dana, now the floor is yours for the entertainment portion of today's show.
Well, what was that?
I think Dana's still having some issues. Well, until she makes a return, we're just going to move on to the next topic then, because I don't really know what she was going to mention in regards to what was going to be discussed regarding entertainment.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, that's going to be the title of today's show, technical difficulties. Gary, why don't you address what you wanted to talk about with BioWare in regards to Mass Effect Andromeda, your favorite game from last year, in the comments that were made recently in regards to this game not doing as well as they wanted it to do?
Oh, hell no, that wasn't my favorite game. But yeah, so basically BioWare is now coming out with, you know, a new excuse about what happened with the bad reception to do with Mass Effect Andromeda, which came out I believe it was March 2017. And basically, you know, their excuse is that Zelda Breath of the Wilds came out the same month, and it was followed by other other RPGs as well, like Persona 5 and, you know, a lot of other RPGs, Horizon and Nier Automata was out as well. So they're blaming other games for the failure of Mass Effect Andromeda. And I really don't understand when game companies or, you know, game execs or directors do this, because it makes no sense. Like, there is never a period of the year where no games are coming out and you just have a clear field where nobody's playing anything else. Like, gamers are coming out left and right every single month in the year. Like, granted, during the summer it's a bit slower, and maybe if this is an issue for people, they should release some of their games in the summer if that's such a big deal, if they feel this way, but they don't. So how can you complain about other games being out? And also, the point I wanted to make is Mass Effect is a huge game. Like, people love Mass Effect, like, especially the original trilogy. People love that game so much that they would set aside any other game just to play a new Mass Effect of the same caliber as the old ones. So I remember specifically around that time, I didn't even play Nier Automata because I knew Mass Effect was coming out. So I waited a few months to play these other games. I put those other games aside specifically for Mass Effect because I knew that I loved Mass Effect. I knew I loved that universe, that series. So a lot of people who were already invested in Mass Effect probably put all those other games to the side until they played Andromeda. So that logic doesn't make sense anyway, because the true hardcore fans of Mass Effect, they was going to play that game regardless. So the fact of the matter is that the game was just trash. That's basically what it is. That's what it comes down to. The game, it wasn't good. And that's their fault. So putting the blame on other stuff is really it's really not respectable, to be honest with you. So I've lost even more respect for the people at Bioware and the people who run Bioware and the people who have ruined Bioware. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I think those are good thoughts across the board. I will make a quick comment on this, and then I'll move over to Dana. When I heard about this story, I couldn't help but laugh that they would even mention Zelda and all these other games. I mean, now, first and foremost, a lot of these games came out before Mass Effect Andromeda came out. So Mass Effect Andromeda, they already knew ahead of time when they looked at the release calendar, we're releasing this game at the exact same time or in the same time frame as all these other games. They knew this. They knew this already. And quite honestly, if you are Mass Effect fans such as I am, you still would pick up Mass Effect. The people who were diehard Mass Effect fans, they would have picked this game up regardless, no matter what, because they were fans of the original trilogy. But when we saw the initial video footage that came out of the gameplay, the janky animations and all that other stuff, that right there was an indication right there, okay, this game might have some issues. I remember seeing previews for the game come out and a lot of them complaining about certain stuff like this and how it started off great. In the beginning, the game was great, but as you get into a certain couple of hours, then the game starts to fall apart. So I think that a lot of that stuff also didn't help them. But initially, when we saw those animations, that was when we knew, okay, this game, it might not be at the same quality as the other trilogy. But I think they definitely should be, held accountable for the fact that they did a bad job with the game. And as I have said in the past, EA also needs to shoulder some of the blame of this because they're the ones that decided as the publisher, when do we want to release this game? So for them to say we're going to release it in a time like this month, even after you saw the fact that it had all these issues, and then you still say to release it anyway, I think they definitely should be blamed for this just as much as Bioware is. But then again, the team that was working on this Mass Effect game, and we definitely have to state this is not the original Bioware team. That team is working on Anthem. So already to have a new Bioware team come into this, they're huge fans of this other trilogy, but they're coming into this experience creating their own version of a Mass Effect game. You already know it's not going to be quite as great as the other trilogy because that's too much to live up to. But yeah, it's ridiculous that he would even talk about the other companies and say, "Oh yeah, well they are to blame for our success for us not being successful." No, they need to admit it and say, as they have said before, this game, we've had a lot of issues with it. It wasn't our best work. Yeah, admit that. But don't in any way start to talk about these other games impacting sales or anything else. They have to acknowledge that this is all on them. So I agree with everything you had to say, Gary. So Dana, do you have anything to add to this particular topic?
Yeah, it's just really corny and really cheap when you're blaming other games for your downfall. You just didn't create a great game. That's all. Just do better next time. But to sit around and blame other people's games and blame other people's successes on your failure is it's really corny and immature. So it's not a really good look for this company at all. And I don't even understand why they would even release that kind of a statement. Like, it's just silly. But yeah, other than that, just do better next time. And also work on a better PR manager, because that is a really stupid statement to put out there.
I agree 100%. Well, Gary, Gary, I do know that you are a huge Mass Effect fan, so maybe you will at least forgive them for their stupidity.
Nah, like I'm kind of done with BioWare until until I hear good reviews about a game they have. Well, there's an echo. But yeah, until I hear a good review about one of their games, you know, whether it be Anthem or the new Dragon Age or a new Mass Effect, like I'm done. I'm not rushing out to buy the game day one or pre-ordering or doing any of that stuff. You know, because they've burned us way too many times now, I think. So yeah. And you know, EA is in charge of them, so there you go. That says a lot right there.
Well, you know, one thing I will say to close off this topic, as I have said in the past, I really, really hope that Anthem is successful, is massive, is huge, because if it is not, then you may be witnessing the end of BioWare next year. Because if that game is not a success, I definitely see EA shutting them down shortly thereafter. So we'll see what happens.
Wait, and I know recently they said that, oh yeah, it was also reviewers' fault that the game had poor reviews, so no one wanted to buy it. Like, you're just blaming everything at this point. First you say, oh, we don't need reviewers because it's the true fans who appreciate the game and love it, and then you blame reviewers for putting out a bad review by saying that those same people who you said can think for their own self and get the game didn't get the game because they based their thoughts on reviewers. So that makes no sense. I'm confused by that whole logic.
I agree. Absolutely.
That's wrong. Instead of just looking out, you know, and saying, hey, we made a crappy game. We're going to do better. We are for our game being substandard, and we want to impress you, and we want to gain you guys' trust, so we're going to put out an even better game, or just a better game in general.
I agree. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
and people are mentioning Anthem in the chat and everything. And like my thing with Anthem is it looks great visually, but all we've seen is the visuals and you know some of the gameplay. What I fell in love with BioWare for was their storytelling and how they make characters matter and the world matter, and you know they had expert storytelling last generation and even before that. So until I see that, I'm not even sold on Anthem yet. Like because I don't think it's really going to be that deep in terms of storytelling because it's an online game. But I think there is a way where you can have great storytelling and online gaming. I've seen it work in a lot of MMOs. That's why people played WoW for so many years, and you know games like Guild Wars 2 and stuff. Like there is a way to have great storytelling in an online world, and if they can tackle that, then that could potentially be a great game. But it doesn't seem like they are going to give us that. So you know, until I see more of what the actual story is, I'm not sold.
I just want to add a quick comment because just like you said, I also am not sold on Anthem either. I know we saw it at EA Play, and like you know, EA has been very forthcoming in saying they want to have a game similar to a Destiny game. And when you put the original makers of the Mass Effect franchise in charge of this game, knowing that they like to tell stories, you definitely have to be somewhat concerned about how the story is going to be in this particular game, because if it's focused on just the surface-based stuff and there's not really any story in there, then you are completely stripping them of what they do best. So I definitely am concerned about that. Hopefully we will get more information on Anthem regarding, you know, like another gameplay reveal, a trailer, some type of information, because the game is out in February. So I would assume maybe by the Game Awards, or even before then, we'll get some more information on this game as it leads into the actual launch. But yeah, I'm definitely concerned about that as well. So we'll have to see what happens, because it's a big game for BioWare, a big game for EA, and it's coming out early next year with a lot of other titles. So hopefully it does well, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, any final thoughts on this topic before we move on to the next?
No, just EA sort it out. I blame EA.
Okay, so Dana, if everything is clear on your end, do you want to talk about the entertainment news you were going to mention before we move on to our final topic? Up. I see. We got an answer right there. That was quick. All right, we'll let her get sorted out.
Okay,
okay, cool. So, do you want to talk about the entertainment news that you were going to mention earlier?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Deep prayer. Let's see this works. This works. All right, really quickly now, because we have some other ones that's really big news. But really quickly, Sony, you guys don't know, they're doing a spin-off of Men in Black. They added 4 new actors to the cast, which is Kumail Nanjiani, who is the actor from The Big Sick. He won some Oscars. Everyone loves him. Ralph Spall.
I think Men in Black said, "Hold up."
I think she got the Men in Black flash, the one that makes you forget everything.
Yeah, it's those technical difficulties. As I said, this episode will be called Technical Difficulties, I believe. Man. All right, well, while we wait for her to return, we have to keep the show rolling, no matter what. We still need to address, we should continue to talk about EA because that was going to be the main topic of today. And I wanted to get your opinion on this, Gary, obviously. Well, Dana, you back? Yeah, let us know when you're back. Let's address this Amy Hennig story because this is obviously was going to be the main topic for today. So we heard, not too long ago, earlier this year, that EA had shut down Visceral. And at that moment in time, they said that Amy Hennig, they were going to let her make a decision as to what she wanted to do next. But they never really specified what was going to happen with Amy Hennig. So finally, this week, she released a statement. She confirmed that back in January, she actually left Visceral when they shut down the studio. She said that Star Wars project is currently on hold, but it is still being reworked and it will be released at a later time, but she is in no way involved in any of that. She actually now is starting up an indie game studio focused primarily on VR games. So now that we know this information regarding what she's doing now and what's going on with EA, I want to start with you, Gary, and get your opinions on how EA handled this situation, and whether or not you think Amy Hennig is going to have some success with this new venture. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think so, because I don't know what it is with Amy Hennig. Now, I don't think all this, it obviously is not her fault, but it does seem like she's kind of cursed, or I don't know, like something is reoccurring, because first she had the issue at Naughty Dog, whatever happened there, and now she's come to EA, and now it's like all this controversy again and stuff. So I don't know what's going on, but I think if she's in charge of her own studio, I think that's really the way for her to really get her vision seen all the way through, like she wants to. So yeah, I think this is probably the best move for her, considering what's happened in the past. For her to move on and do her own thing. And VR is it's an industry in itself that still needs to be fully tackled. And I think her visions might go down well. In that I think she could do a lot there. There's a lot of room for growth for her and a lot of room for success. So that might be good for her. So in terms of the Star Wars game, I don't trust EA with Star Wars properties anymore. It seems like there's just always something going on. Like they messed up Battlefront 2. People weren't even really happy with the first Battlefront that came out a few years ago. And I just don't know, like, I don't trust them to do anything good with what Amy Hennig created, and I think they're going to completely change that vision. I think there was already a story about that. Like, I think they wanted to go in a different direction to what Amy Hennig was planning in the first place. And also, Illustrated DEO in the comments, he actually asked if because Respawn are working on a Star Wars game, and he's asking, is Respawn taking over the Amy Hennig game? And as for that, I'm not so sure. I think it's possible it could be a different game, because I remember hearing, I think it was last year, there was a news story that came out that they were working on a completely different Star Wars game. So essentially 3 different Star Wars properties: Battlefront, the Amy Hennig game, and the Respawn game. So I'm not sure if that's actually the same one. Maybe they'll merge them, I don't know, but it seems like there's too much going on. I think EA has control of too much right now. I think what Disney should have done is split the properties. They should have allowed a different studio to do one thing, and EA can do Battlefront games, or like, they should have spread it out a little bit, or just given it to another company completely, because it's just too much chaos going on at the moment, and I don't think we're going to see a good Star Wars game anytime soon, to be honest, the way things are looking. So that's my thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond really quick to what Illustrated DEO said. Yeah, this is it definitely is a different Star Wars game. I don't really know what is going to happen with this other game that was shelved or put on hold. I don't know when it's going to be coming out, but I do know at Respawn, when they made that announcement at the EA Play event this year, they had said they have a new Star Wars game that's dropping next year. So it's a totally different game. This is not the same game. But yeah, I do agree with what you said, Gary. EA definitely. I think that they now have set themselves up on a very bad track record with this relationship with Star Wars, because look at what happened with Battlefront 2. That was a disaster, and now you have this thing with the Amy Hennig situation. So we have to see what happened with this Respawn game. Hopefully, this game doesn't have any issues, but this is not a good look for EA. Well, go ahead, Dana.
No, I was gonna just basically say the same thing as everybody else. This really isn't a very good look for it, and the what was originally planned is now gonna just be ruined, and it's gonna probably just be a shell of itself. I do hope that they eventually do use her original vision and that they incorporate her, but right now I just don't know, and it's not looking very trustworthy. It's not a very trustworthy franchise. Every game that they seem to put out seems to be not that great. It seems to be kind of subpar. And remember that they announced that it was a random weird with the new Star Wars game. So I wait and see and just hope for the best. But right now it's just that's literally my answer is
Yeah, we'll see what happens. As for Amy Hennig, I do hope that she has success in this other venture. I do know that there are a lot of people. Well, there are some people out there that think that VR gaming is still a fad. It's not really. It's dying to a certain extent. I disagree with that, because we saw a lot of great VR games at PSX last year, and then this year at E3 there was also some great VR games. So I think that there's still an audience for it. It may not be like a huge audience, depending on, but I still feel like with Amy Hennig, I still will be very curious to see what she can create, because she did a great job with Uncharted. But I mean, we have to wait and see. From all indication of what she said, that is, I mean, she just formed the studio. It's still working on it. So this is nothing that's going to be coming anytime soon. Definitely by next generation, I would assume, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
And can I just say something really quickly about VR gaming? The thing is that with technology, new technology that is introduced, it'll take a little while for people to jump on that bandwagon. You're not going to jump up and say, here's VR, and then the next day, you have 20 million sales or whatever. Technology is one of those weird things that when we first introduced it, we're really precautious about it. and then slowly, you know, maybe even through years or so, everyone gets used to it, and then after a while, it's like, oh yeah, remember that? And that goes for anything. When they first introduced television, people was like, oh no, TV, this foreign thing, we don't want it. Now everyone has a television. Internet, when they first introduced internet, you can go and Google it. And when they was doing the announcement for the internet service, and people was like, what's an internet? I don't like this. This is weird technology. So yeah, that's what it is. It's just technology. It takes a while for people to get used to it. And so I don't see the success of VR right now, but I do see it in the future. I say give it a good 10 years and everyone's going to be like, hey, did you get that VR game? That VR game? You don't even have to say VR game anymore. You just say game and everybody just knows. Like, it will be that popular. So just give it time. And I do wish her success.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so any other thoughts on this particular topic? All right, so
I just I mean, we probably had this conversation before, but I just want a different company to handle Star Wars completely. And you know, I mean, I think even Activision would do a much better job than EA, to be honest. Like, because Destiny wasn't, you know, the first Destiny was good in my opinion. It might have lacked some story, but if that was Battlefront, if Destiny 1 was Battlefront, I think that would have been a great Star Wars game, to be honest. So I think Activision would do a lot more justice with Star Wars, even Ubisoft. And yeah, I don't know. I think one of those two companies would do a better job with Star Wars. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, Activision, yeah, I agree. I mean, Destiny has gotten criticisms only because of the content, you know, because of the type of game that it is, and the fact that they want it to be something that you always come back to. I know a lot of people criticize, you know, Bungie and Activision heavily for that. Yet those people are now very much looking forward to the expansion pack, Forsaken, that's coming out in September. So I think all of that is, you know, because there's so many things that they're trying to change to make the game appealing. But yeah, I think Activision, if they got a hold to that license, they probably can do a much better job with whatever Star Wars game they release. Ubisoft, yeah, Ubisoft, it all depends on whatever Ubisoft is doing. We know Ubisoft has a renewed relationship with Nintendo now. So they are certainly proven to be a very good partner for Nintendo right now. So I think if you give them Star Wars, they definitely can work some wonders with that also. But yeah, I just feel like with EA, they have a lot of opportunities to make this thing work with Disney. But we have to wait and see what they ultimately do. Like I said, I didn't really like the fact that at EA Play, these guys at Respawn basically just talked about a game. There was no footage, nothing telling you what the game is about. And literally, I was like, that's it. You could have just waited to show a trailer or something when there was more to talk about and when you actually have something to show. But they just talked about it. They didn't do anything else. So I have to take a wait and see approach on what Respawn does. Yes, they did an excellent job with Titanfall 1 and 2. And Titanfall 2, I would still argue, I'm disappointed that EA, when they decided to release that game, because a lot of people didn't play that game because there were so many other games that were out at that particular time. But Titanfall 2 was fantastic. So I have faith that they'll do a good job with Star Wars. But until they actually show us something, we have to at least be a little cautious to know exactly what they're going to do with that actual franchise. But I'm all for any other company taking over that license. And I think that they absolutely positively would do a better job than what EA has done with Battlefront and all the other Star Wars stuff. Because Battlefront, the whole thing with that was the microtransactions. That was what got people enraged. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with Respawn and their whole take on the Star Wars stuff, because they can still do a good job, but it depends on what they actually have to show us the next time they talk about this game.
I just hope it's not like a Titanfall 2.0 with a Star Wars with a Star Wars skin on it.
Oh yeah, and listen, a lot of people may enjoy that. You know, some people may enjoy that, especially the Titanfall fans. You know, I'm assuming. We'll see. But yeah, no, it should be something original. I mean, they did make mention of, you know, it's about Jedi, so on and so forth when they spoke about it. But again, there was nothing to show. So I literally did not care whatsoever because there wasn't anything to show. But they have to show this stuff in order to get me excited. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people feel the same way. But we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Indeed.
Yes. So any final thoughts on this topic before we get ready to wrap up the show? Dana, is your connection okay now? We'll take that as a no. Technical difficulties. All right. I think we should get ready to wrap up the show for today. Obviously, a couple of things we didn't quite talk about, but we will definitely talk about that stuff in the future. So stay tuned for that. So as for the final shout outs, I want to give a shout out to everybody listening. If you're listening to this show later, thank you for the continued support. We do apologize for the technical difficulties that we experienced during this episode, but we have a lot more to talk about. And as I had already mentioned at the beginning of today's show, I still have a lot to post on the website this week in regards to, you know, the Crew 2 review, as well as other stuff that I've been writing for other games that I've played at E3. There was just a ton of things that I played that I've only really begun to talk about some of that stuff, but stay tuned for that. It will definitely be up on the site this week as well as on YouTube. So look forward to all of that. Dana, do you have any final shout outs that you want to give?
Shout outs to DC with their DC Universe streaming service.
Yes, DC. To be determined.
Well, you know, they released a lot of information in regards to the DC streaming service, so it does look very promising.
Okay, you have to let us know about that, more about that next week.
Okay.
Yes. All right, and Gary, the floor is now yours for shout outs.
Yep. So big shouts to, you know, everyone who's in the chat and who joined us today, and everyone who's listening after. And of course, a special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. That's M. Collins, Sean Gority, Stephen Ferron, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Miguel, and Antonio Rogers. We appreciate all of you guys. And also, the Powercast is returning tonight as well. So, you know, by the time, if you're listening to this after, the show should actually already be up. So if you do watch Power, that's something extra to look out for. So yeah, we're giving you a lot of content right now, man. There's the WrestleCast, there's the co-op, there's the Powercast. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying it. Definitely let us know your thoughts on everything that we're putting out, and we appreciate you guys for listening to us.
Absolutely. I will give a teaser as well that there will be something else that's also going to be coming this week. Stay tuned for that on YouTube. It's going to be a very interesting little show being put together. But that's it for this week. Thank you all for your continued support, and we will talk to you all next week.
Peace.